The Teenage Engineering Field Mixer TX-6 has a new firmware update. The original TX-6 firmware had a lot of problems, and now it has a new firmware update fixing many of these issues. It has improved MIDI capabilities. You can now record directly into a USB memory stick. It has an improved MIDI clock feature and a pocket operator sync feature. So can the new 1.14 firmware update for the TX-6 save this device? And is it now worth the staggering price tag of $1,200 American dollars? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. So let's go to the table and take a closer look on the new features. Okay, so let's look at some of the minor updates first. The first little update is that now you have a new input mode, which is a balanced mono. So basically, when you connect a cord, you can choose mono here. And if you keep scrolling, you get a B, which stands for balanced. So basically this is just to improve any potential noise you might get from an input source. Say, for example, if you have an OP1 that's connected to power, you might get some grounding noise, and this should reduce that a little bit. Another new feature is now you can select the audio sample rate. In the previous firmware version, you only had the option for the 48 kilohertz, but now you can also choose 44.1 kilohertz. By doing that, you press the shift button, select, then you go down to rate, and then you can simply turn the selector till you get multi, which lets the audio host choose which setting is best. You also have a cool new feature called Scene that allows you to create and recall 3 different scenes or presets that you can instantly switch between for your various mixing needs. So you can get to this through the menu. You'll get to Scene, and then you can save or load. So now let's say I save the current setting to Scene A. Now, if I want to go to pots and change what these knobs are doing, say to synth, for example, now all these will control the synths. And then in order to go back, I can just simply go load Scene A. And now we're back to the filter, auxiliary, and compressor setting that I had before that I saved into Scene A. So that can be practical for quickly finding your different settings that you need and prefer at that particular moment. Now this new firmware update for the TX-6 also has a couple of new sync options. The first one is that it has a new MIDI clock source. So that means that you can sync several devices with the TX-6 via USB MIDI. So in this case, I've connected the TX-6 with the OPZ, and I have the outputs from the line module coming out here and into track number 1. And if you see, when we go into the menu here, we have the clock setting. So this lets you choose between the internal clock of the TX-6, the USB device you're connected to, and the Bluetooth BLE MIDI clock signal. You can also choose if you want to send clock signal out or not. So in this case, when you have it on USB and you're not sending clock signal out, now the device you're connected to will send the clock signal. So if we increase the tempo here, you can see it changes based on the signal the OPZ is sending out. And also, if you want the TX-6 to be the master device, you activate the out and you change to internal. So that now the internal clock of the TX-6 is sending the clock signal out. And we can see that now if we press play, the OPZ starts playing. And now I can control the tempo using the TX-6. So that's a very useful new feature. And it also has another great feature, and that is that now you can sync the TX-6 to a pocket operator. And to do that, you need a regular aux cord, and you connect it to one end to either the aux or Q outputs on the bottom here, the other end to the pocket operator. Then you need to put it on a sync mode. We can also connect the pocket operator to the TX-6 so we get the signal in. And now in order to send the clock signal to the pocket operator, we go into aux mode where we have the output connected to the pocket operator. We press shift and dial the selector button until we get to 8. So the 8 is for syncing to pocket operators, while the next mode, the 16, is for things like modular synths and hardware synths. We'll press play on the pocket operator, and we'll press play here. And now we're controlling the pocket operator using the TX-6. And again, turn it up. Or down. The pocket operator will follow. And then you can obviously also sync both via MIDI and via the pocket operator outputs. So those aren't really playing the same thing, but it's a great way to make all your devices talk together. And it's really a big improvement. And something that I didn't understand why they didn't put in, but as I talked about earlier, I think they just released the device without having completed the firmware yet. So some big improvements right there. Now another major update that I'm very excited about is that now you can record directly into a USB memory stick from the TX-6. So what you do is you simply I have this little memory stick right here, and you plug it in, and then you see there's a tiny little icon that just popped up, which means that it's registered as a memory device. So what this means is that you can now record and play sound directly from this memory stick. So if you go into disk, you can see how it looks. From this menu, you have the option to play or record. By recording, you press the FX2 button, the red one. Now you see you got the record button right there. And you press again to start recording. So if you now let the weird synth sequencers start playing. Now whenever you've had enough, you just simply press again. And if you want to play it, press the FX1 black button until you get the play symbol right here, then you press again. And you can scrub, like there's a few seconds of silence, and then you can simply just scrub using the selector button, and then play from wherever you want. You can also select files. So here I only have 3 files at the moment. Press the first one. Here, this is another recording I made. You also have the option for an auto mode, where the device listens for audio and only starts recording when it picks something up. And to enter this, you press Shift and the red FX button. Now you can see that it has a pause symbol blinking. And now going back, starting the sequencer again. You can see the disk symbol is blinking, indicating that it's recording. And now when we play this new recording, you can hear that there's no silence before it starts. So I would say that that's a massive improvement that makes this device way more handy as a traveling device, that you can connect anything to it as a mixer and then record directly into the USB device. So this is also a good opportunity to talk about the new quick access feature. So the quick access feature basically lets you quickly change between the record mode and the play mode. And the way you do that is simply by pressing Shift and the selector wheel while in one of these screens. So say you want to record something, put in auto, then you can just simply move back to the play screen. Stop it, back, stop this one. And there you go. Now the next feature I'm going to talk about is the biggest game changer of all, and was my biggest complaint with the former firmware. And that's the MIDI capabilities. In the original firmware, the MIDI capabilities were frankly terrible, and they were my biggest drawback, and I honestly could not understand how Teenage Engineering at all thought they could release a product with such terrible MIDI. But now they have vastly updated the MIDI capabilities, and now I do think the device is usable. The MIDI capabilities depend a lot on what device you connect to it, so let's have a little quick overview of what they have changed. Previously, I made a whole video about the MIDI capabilities that I never released because while I was doing the finishing touches, the new firmware update came out, which basically rendered the video I was working on obsolete. So you were never able to see that. I'll show you some little clips that compares the old firmware to the new. Basically, with the old firmware, you had one MIDI note controlling each channel. So if you use a keyboard, the C key controlled channel 1, D controlled channel 2, E controlled channel 3, F, G, A. So you would basically have to, when you played in synth mode, you would have to dial in each channel to which notes you wanted. You're also limited to 6 notes at a time. Now they've changed it so that you can play each channel chromatically. However, if you have a simple MIDI keyboard, like this Akai MPK Mark III, you'll only be able to play on this one channel, unless you change MIDI channels on your computer. So let me show you how. Now this is connected, and this is currently dialed into MIDI channel 1, which is designated to the channel 1 mixer here. And I have to turn on MIDI. So all the audio is coming from this one channel. So if I turn on the sequencer, you can still override what the sequencer is doing. So that's a big improvement, but where it really shines is devices that can use several MIDI channels at once. So let me show you what I mean using the OPZ. Okay, so just to explain how the channels are assigned. So it's simple and intuitive enough. Track 1 is assigned to MIDI channel 1, track 2 to MIDI channel 2, track 3 to MIDI channel 3, and so forth for the 6 tracks. And then track 7 is the same as the old firmware, meaning C controls 1, D controls 2, E controls 3, and so on, which is useful if you want to control the drum synths here. So the way my OPZ is set up right now is that each instrument has its own MIDI channel. So the kick is on MIDI channel 1, so that controls track 1 on the TX-6. The snare is on 2, track 2, and so on. And then on track 7, each track is controlled by C through A. If we now select the kick channel, I've turned the OPZ all the way down, so we only hear the audio coming from the TX-6. We can see the track 1 lights up, and we can hear it's played. The snare channel, you can hear it has a different waveform. That channel, do this one. And then on the next channels we have kick and snare. And this depends on the waveform we've selected. So this basically means that you can use the OPZ or other MIDI sequencers that have the possibility to use different MIDI channels at once and take full advantage of the synth oscillators in the TX-6. So we can try and program something simple using the OPZ. And then obviously you can dial in the effects. So obviously that's not great music, but it's just an indication of what's possible now. So you can see now you can actually use the TX-6 as a synth. I really think that this was something that should have been in the TX-6 already before they put it on the market, but I'm not going to complain because this is a huge improvement. And some concluding thoughts, I think that together with the new MIDI clock features and the new pocket operator sync features and the new synth features, and maybe last but not least, the ability to record directly into a USB stick, really lifts this product from just a quirky little mixer to a proper device that's actually really useful and that you can bring with you and use as an idea machine. You really don't need anything else because this actually has real value as a traveling device. And you can use it as a temporary audio interface. These faders are great for expression controls in your DAW, and also just the fact that you now can record things if you have a few groove boxes, the OP1, little aux cable microphone, that you can actually record your ideas easily and quickly into one of these little USB memory devices. So all in all, I am pretty happy with the new update, and this is probably the first time I feel like this can somewhat justify the price of 1,200 American dollars. So what do you think? I would love to hear your opinions about it. I know it's not for everyone, but whether you like it or not, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. And I love to read your comments and your opinions about everything. So thank you for watching. Please leave a like and I'll see you in the next video. And in the meantime, you can check out the other videos I made about the TX-6.